Hello, my name is Father Jude Eli, and welcome to our program, Friars Feast, the art of celebration where faith, family, and food come together. Today, it's Italian Pork Day. We're going to braise domesticated pork and wild pork, as in wild boar, from the hills of California. Stay tuned on Friars Feast. This is Dirk Foslin's Early Morning Santa Barbara County. It's where the artist depicts the beautiful landscape of Southern California, and it's the place where there's a lot of hunting, especially wild boar. And so you look at the painting and you see the heather, you see the clouds coming up. It's early morning, the sun is hitting the mountain, and it's time to go hunting in California. Today we're doing braised pork. Now in California there are many areas, especially in the northern and in the southern part of California, where wild boar is simply present and a lot of people go shooting. So I am indebted to some of the people that live in Bakersfield, California that supply me with wild boar. This, however, is domesticated pork, and so we'll start this today. The other pork will be wild boar guinciale over pappardelle, but stay tuned for that one. Right now, domesticated pork. So this is a shoulder of pork. Notice, look at it. It's lined with a lot of fat, and that means it's going to really going to be flavorful, because once you start braising, and yes, we're braising, that means you first bring the meat up to the temp, you sear it, you add your vegetables, you add your liquid, and you braise for 2 or 3 hours, and out comes a succulent meal of braised pork. Let's begin. Let's put some oil in our pan. Let's add some onions, like about a half a cup of onion. Let's add some pico de gallo. Remember, your pico de gallo is peppers, onions, cilantro, and tomato. At this point, we are going to season our pork shoulder, and we're going to incise it with garlic and rosemary. Yes, I love garlic. Those who know me know that I love garlic. We're just going to make slits into this and then put some garlic and rosemary. This wonderfully flavors the meat. Do we use a lot of garlic? Well, yes, we do. I'm Northern Italian, and we use a lot of garlic. So we studded it, we incise it. Get in there. Well, one more. Now what we want to do is season it with salt and pepper. And we're looking for, once we start to sear, a real robust golden brown flavor and a golden brown color. Remember, color equals flavor when you braise. Let's look at our mirepoix, or in Italian surfito. That's absolutely gorgeous in there. Okay, let's put them in. There we go. Yeah. That means that's going to be a good sear. You want your temperature hot. Let's season the other side. Again, this is Italian seasoning. When you put your piece of meat on a hot skillet or hot cast iron pan or vessel such as this, leave it alone. You need it. You need the meat to caramelize. So we have the caramelization of the sofrito, or what we call mirepoix, or in this case, pico de gallo. The garlic, the onions, it needs to be caramelized. So we'll wait until that's done. Okay, let's see if the meat is well browned. Yes, it is. I'm just going to turn it over. See, that's what you want. Beautiful. Nice caramelization. Notice the crust. Really nice. So we'll let that go for a moment so that too can be browned on both sides. Okay, let's see if our other side is crystallized. Yes, it is. Just checking that over. Good, I'm gonna leave that there. Actually, I'm gonna take it out. And let's put the rest of the mirepoix There's the porcini with its juices, mushrooms, some rosemary. By the way, one thing about this recipe, it's so easy to do. Once you put it in, and once you start the braising, remember it'll be in an oven for about 3 hours at 350 degrees. 350 for 3 hours. I know for braising that might seem a bit hot, but that's the way that I always braise. Not the 250 or 275. I braise at 350. Look at it. Oh, that's gorgeous. Notice the mushrooms with the addition of the porcini liquid has picked up all of the fondants in the pot. It looks absolutely gorgeous. My ubiquitous people who know me, the red pepper flake, that's about 1/8 of a teaspoon. Let's add our fennel pollen, which is the top part of the fennel bulb that's been dried. Let's incorporate that in. Oh, I wish you were here to smell this. Oh, it's wonderful. Okay, let's add, I figure, about a cup of roughly chopped garlic. Get that incorporated. Kalamata olives, about a half a cup. Yes, it is going to be very savory. Fingerling potatoes. I love these little things. They're just wonderful. They have not been parboiled. By the way, they'll act as a natural bed. It'll elevate the pork roast. That looks lovely. Going to add some chopped basil, about a half a cup. You know, it's that anise flavor. And as well as some fennel. Let's put this over here. You take off the root, save the fronds for the garnish. You don't want the root, it's too tough. Just a nice julienne. This will add, and by the way, the fennel and the potatoes will be our vegetable for the meal. For the plate, I add no other vegetables. Now, if you want to have a salad with this, that's fine, but notice, you have your vegetables, you have your potato. Let's bring our pork back. We're now going to add about 2 cups of half and half. Now we're braising. That means it's not stewing. Stewing is when the meat is in fact covered. We're not doing that. This is heavy cream, about 2 cups. Yes, this is going to be very rich. Okay. So let's put this in the oven. And for our sake, we have one already for you. Rather than using cast iron, I've used a Pyrex or glass casserole baking dish. It is the exact same recipe. This was covered in foil, and it basically braised for about 3 hours. I took the foil off the last half hour. And so what you have is that the milk and the cream, look at that, it's almost a nutty brown with the olives and with the fennel. Look at that, just beautifully braised fennel, a little bit of the olives here, and the meat, look at that, it's almost coming off the bone, but that we will save later. So you take all of the elements in the casserole dish, so the fennel, the olives, the rosemary, the garlic. You put it in a blender and you pulsate until it's nice and smooth and creamy, and then you pour it over the braised pork. We'll be right back. I find that when you drain your pasta, I rather use a strainer scoop like this because you save the pasta water. You always want to save your pasta water because you want to save some of the pasta starched water. This will thicken any sauce. Okay, now that the pork is out, let's remove it from the casserole. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, I want you to look at something. This is goodness right here. You have no idea. This is goodness. Oh. We have pieces of fennel, the drippings, the olives, all the spices, all the mirepoix. Look at that. Oh, I love that. Okay, let's see if we can get it in here. Okay, let's put this back on. There we go. Lock it. Now, since this is hot liquid, you got to be very careful. And we're simply going to pulsate this. There we go. And I believe that's it. One last taste. Oh, look how viscous that is. That is as good as it gets. Let me tell you right now, who's ever going to dine on this is going to be a festive fryer. A real festive fryer. We'll be right back to plate, okay? So stay with us. So now we're ready to plate our braised pork. Let's put down some of the sauce. Look how viscous that is. Look how wonderfully thick that was. And there you have it, Friars Feast, braised pork. Take care. Well, we're ready for our second dish today. It's wild boar, or quinchale, and it's wild boar from California. When you look at the painting by Dirk Fossland, the California Hills right by Santa Barbara, that's where you get the boar. Now, I got this boar from Brian Anton Giovanni and Stephen Finucci, as well as Rochelle Finucci. They come from families that do hunting, and so this is genuine wild boar caught in California. So we have the pan up to temp, and let's go through the mise en place. We have tomatoes, diced tomatoes, porcini mushrooms, blueberries, white mushrooms, stewed tomatoes, dried blueberries, dried cherries, tomato pesto, Kalamata olives, our ubiquitous pico de gallo, tomato sauce, onions, porcini powder, and for garnish we'll be using pine nuts, apples, and of course my always favorite, garlic. So why don't we begin? Let's get the pot nice and hot, and you can tell that it's already shimmering, that we reached the proper temperature. So at this point, why don't we saute the onions? This is about a half of an onion. See, this is what happens when you have the pan already hot. It does make a difference. It does. So I'm going to saute the apples. Let's do the garlic. About 20 cloves of garlic. Yes, it's garlic. Now this is what the Italians call abbasco, that you use a lot of fruit with the meat. So that's exactly what we're doing. Pico de gallo. Let's get the tomato pesto, or sun-dried tomato pesto. The porcini mushrooms and their water. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, does that smell good? Okay. Let's add the dried cherries, dried blueberries, fresh blueberries. You ask, why do you have two types of blueberries? Well, when it's dried, the flavor is very, very concentrated, and that's what you want. So you want a fresh taste, and you want a dry taste. Look how colorful that is. And then white mushrooms. And we're just going to saute this. I'm going to saute the vegetables and fruit first. Then in another pan I will saute or brown off the boar. Let's add the Kalamata olives with their brine. Italian seasoning. San Marzano tomatoes are very sweet, and I use these a lot because rather than having something very acidic, this is sweet. This is nice. Now we are going to add plenty of acid, so we don't need to overdo the acid. That's why I use those. Really sweet. Doesn't that look nice? Let's add stewed tomatoes. I'm going to bring that up to temp. Let's add 1 can of tomato sauce. This is an 8-ounce can. You want the stewed tomatoes, but you want something that will bolster the consistency of the final dish. So that's what I'm doing with that. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of wine, red wine. Probably about 1.5 cups. Each bottle will hold about 4 cups of wine, or 4 wine glasses of wine. See, beautiful sauce that we're getting ready. So before I add the pork, I'm going to get this to the boil, and we'll be right back. Okay, as you can tell, and as you can see, the sauce is coming up to a boil. I want that to reduce just a little bit, but look how rich that is. That has wine and fruits and vegetables and different types of mushrooms and garlic. I love that stuff. Okay, now we're going to sear the wild boar. Now, as you can tell, the boar meat is rather lean. So, one thing about boar is that it's lean like this. You either cook it very fast or you braise it. So we're braising it. So it's a slow cook. It's not a fast cook. You notice I'm leaving it alone. Let the hot surface do its work. There we go. And we'll be right back. Okay, let's see now if the meat's brown enough. You can tell, oh, look at that, isn't that lovely? You can tell because, oh, look at that. Yeah, I think it's ready. I'm just going to move them around. Look at that. Great color. Look how lean it is, huh? Oh, God, it smells wonderfully. And the fawns at the end. Look at that. See, that's flavor right there. That brown fawns at the bottom of the pan, the grill pan, that is flavor. Well, that's what you want. Okay, it's time. Now what I have here is a combination of limoncello and ouzo. I love that. Lemon, licorice. What can go wrong? Nothing. I love it. And, oh, I wish you were here to smell it. Oh. Oh, it's wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I believe we're just about done there. Let's turn this off. I'm simply going to pour it all in here, all the juices. And get everything nicely, oh, look at that, I tell you. You put this over pasta. That's what we're going to do today is pappardelle. Think of this as a sauce. And we braise it for about 3 hours. Okay, now that this has reached the proper temperature, I'm going to pull out the braised guanciale that I did this morning, and let's take a look at that, okay? Look at it. Oh my gosh. It is reduced down to a sauce-like consistency. Look, I'm pressing the meat chunks and they're just falling apart. Oh my gosh, yes. The large bits of garlic are there. The tomatoes, oh my word, look at that. It just breaks apart so beautifully. I'm going to leave some of the bigger chunks of garlic alone. I love tasting those. They just melt in your mouth. But look at the consistency of that. And that is exactly what you want. Let's get to this. Let's take the lid off our pot. Normally, when you go to Italy and you have this meal, guanciale, it's always served with pappardelle. So we have some pappardelle nests that I'm simply going to throw in. Now the water's been heavily salted, like seawater. Remember, you don't want a little salt, you want a lot of salt. Look how wonderfully wide these are. They're just wonderful. I love pappardelle. And then I'm just going to let these, now there's a little bit of oil in here to make sure that they don't stick. And as they start to cook, they will unravel. Let's put you in too. Yeah, here we go. Make sure you have enough water, okay? Okay, see, they're starting to unravel now. So let's put a lid on that. And let it come to a boil. We'll be right back. Okay, I believe our pasta is ready. Let's go over and see and check it out. Yeah, perfect. I can tell it's perfectly al dente, so let's move the pot over. Let's drain it. Here we go. Get back in. Oh, that's perfectly al dente too, by the way. It's lovely. Okay, let's put this back. Okay, look how nice that looks, huh? That is so good looking. Okay, let's. Well, this is Friars Feast, the art of celebration, faith, family, and food. Cinquale with pappardelle, Friars Feast style. Enjoy, and always remember, when you're feeding others, you're feeding the presence of God within them. Take care. See you soon. Let's just sing the duck. It's still perfect. Ready? Now we're ready to braise our braised duck. No, long series. Okay, ready? So now we're ready to